Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and Buddy Rhett, the African gray bird. She is excited to be here today because I don't know if I brought her out a single time last week. Maybe on Monday or something. I was just so tired, and I had to go into work on Tuesday. I don't know, just kind of threw everything off. I'm waiting for this ng serve to come up. I'm working on my ThreeJS application. Um, Basically, the goal is to get delete working, and then for animations. And the thing, animations is slightly different because as you can see here, we do like a delete geometry, we delete st mesh material, but geometries are in a array. So like a mesh does not have an array of geometries. I think it is possible now, if I remember correctly, or maybe it's an array of materials. I don't know. It definitely, there's some schemes in ThreeJS about like creating arrays to do stuff. But I right now a mesh is, so if we look at this, we are up and running. So it's so much easier since I created this data structure. So data entities took a long time to build this out, but now that we have it, we have this. So basically, we are in mesh, right? So this is the ST mesh service, so that's this. So these are actually in order, which is just a convenience, and it probably won't always be that way. But as you see, a renderer has a camera and a scene. A camera has like various attributes, but it doesn't really have a. It has objects like positions and stuff like that, but it doesn't have like ThreeJS objects. And then a scene has meshes, and a mesh has animations, and an animation is here. And whenever one of the goals of this application is to be able to like reuse these different entities across, like, so that like the renderer could have two different renderers could share the same camera. That concept doesn't exist in ThreeJS. It only exists on my side, on the ST side, the space and time. So Marty's side, it exists, but it doesn't exist in ThreeJS. So that means on my side, I define it. And then I have another layer called the three side, which this is the thing that sort of bridges that gap. It will do whatever it needs to do to make whatever we describe in ThreeJS, I mean in ST, happen in ThreeJS. So anyway, so that's what we're doing. When we delete this thing, we need to go through and we need to delete any animations. So right now, if I click this button, I could actually delete it. Then I could hit back, and you see I still have animations, and that's not good, right? That's not a good thing. Um, so oh, so anyways, uh, I need to delete the animations. I did have sort of a thing that I had noticed the other day is when I would go here, I'd add something and then I'd click here and then I came back and I was like, oh, I have this viz component object. And I was thinking, oh, a viz component should it exist? But actually, I may have some attributes that I want to persist across the lifetime of a viz component. So like when the next component is, there may be some information in here that I want to reapply. So I actually can't delete this. I was thinking I needed to delete it, but that's not crazy. So anyways, we have our for each. And so we want to, for every animation ID, we want to try to delete the mesh for it. And we know that these are numbers. So this is an ST animation ID, and that is a number. And it gets passed into this anonymous function, which we do not want to stay with. I don't want to keep it an anonymous function, but for now I will. And the animation, this thing doesn't need to know, does it? I guess it does. It needs to know what the mesh ID is. So it actually needs information that's outside of this, these brackets here. And so these brackets, since this is an arrow function, will will be able to see anything outside of it because that's sort of what you're when you create like a arrow function, that's what it creates. If we had like the word function and all that, then that word will create its own context, so then it can't see anything outside of there. So that's how that works. I never ever use regular functions anymore. So that is a piece of information that I learned at one point that is of no use. But a lot of times people who, if you work in an environment where they do use that, you'll see like this and then maybe a variable named that or something so that you can have access to information outside of it. But anyways, that's very old school, but you might in some old school stuff say something like const that equals this. And this that you will generally see that when you have like a function that's not like one of these arrow functions, but if you see the word function in here and then like that, then because one of the things that the keyword function is communicating is to actually create a new this. So when you create a new this, you end up losing access to the that or to the this above it. And since the this above it no longer is accessible, you kind of have to give it a new name, and that is usually often called that. Fortunately, that is gone because that was created, that whole thing. This, just the keyword this is very confusing. But anyways, so now we have our animation ID, so I can call this thing right here. And I don't know why, every time I start referring to the variable this, I start calling um, I start calling um, I start calling everything this. I don't know, it's weird. Animation ST animation ID. And this is actually a ST mesh ID, so I'm just going to take care of that right now. I don't even remember what the should delete is for. Like, why would I have a delete mesh and then a should delete? Like, why would I call it if I shouldn't delete it? But by default, it's true, so apparently there's some sort of edge case. And you just can't remember everything. It would be nice if you could remember everything, but you can't remember everything. So since I can't remember everything, it becomes very difficult to hey girl, becomes very difficult to, I mean, like, when you're coding on different things, you just kind of have to have faith in yourself or your teammates or whatever that there was apparently some time where you would say should delete and send back a false, or and pass it in along with a false, and then but I don't know what the I kind of really wish at the time so it says that I created this yesterday. But at the time, I wish I would have put a comment right here. Okay, not sure what this is for. I guess it's good. This would be a good time to just see if it can be very obvious. Delete mesh. There can't be too many things named delete mesh in this application. See, delete. Oh, that's delete mesh for scene ID. Yeah, I don't even see. I don't. Oh, here we call it. No, this is it, right? this thing. This delete mesh should delete. Should delete is false. Okay. Oh, I guess what I oh, because it's used in other scenes. Put a definition. Yeah, that's weird. All right. This is set to false if the delete mesh was found. Now, what I don't understand is why oh, that's right. The reason I did that, another scene. Yeah, so this is like probably something that I do for um, unit testing, so that if I don't have to try to update this with and then update the other scenes and all that other stuff to unit test this. I can just pass it in false or true and then write unit tests for it. So that is literally just a unit test convenience. Now, should I do it anyways? Probably, but um, um, like from a coding, I don't know. I just don't even know. But it does make things a lot easier in a lot of contexts to be able to just have this test, this sort of a pure function that can just doesn't need any access to anything. I think it does need access to the mesh dictionary, but so I don't know. I guess we probably should also pass in. We should probably just pass in the whole mesh. I think we should pass in the whole mesh, but then like this delete. So in the mesh service, so in the scene service, see it deletes it for the mesh ID. But I guess it would make sense if we're going to have this to make it private if we pass in the whole mesh. Now, but unit testing private things is kind of a pain, so I don't know. Because literally all we have to do is oh no, that's not true. Yeah, so no matter what, we still need access to the this mesh dictionary. We could pass the whole thing in, but so that's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt because this is probably going to change. So I think what we should do actually is make this like this. So we get an instance of our mesh. Yeah, an instance of our actual mesh there. And then if should delete and st mesh. Now you could make a pretty compelling argument that like this line of code is not necessary if should delete is false, so we shouldn't have it. But if we're being completely honest, this is like arguing about like a molecule in a glass of water. Ooh, maybe we should check every molecule. I mean, it's just such a teeny tiny thing. And not only that, it's such a teeny tiny thing, and this piece of memory is only occupied until between line 117 and 142, and then it's gone. So, like, it's just so ephemeral. I'm trying to get comfortable with that word. It's so ephemeral. Ephemeral means that, like, it comes and goes, right? So, like, there's no record of it. It just came and then it left and it was just gone. Um, but it's so ephemeral that even that, and not only that, but in all likelihood, the transpiler will figure this out anyways for us. It wouldn't surprise me if behind the scenes, the transpiler creates JavaScript that optimizes the heck out of this stuff, so we don't even have to worry about it. about that. But this is more like so that when I'm doing my unit tests, um, I don't it I have like a I guess what it is this is like that classic guard mentality, right? Where I'm going to create a guard around this stuff. Because this, if it doesn't exist, calling it will will break, but calling line 117 won't break if there's something wrong with the dictionary, if there's nothing in the dictionary, but these lines will likely break in that case. Um, so I will, during unit testing, have to create a mesh, but I won't be able to. Um, I won't be able to use the mesh. I'm trying to figure out how does ST mesh ID get set now though? Oh, ST mesh ID got passed in. All right. Woo. All right. So anyways, now we're doing this. So I believe we already have like a like well, I know that function already exists. I don't know what it does, but I know we're not done here either. So I don't think that function does anything. Let's look at F12. And then boom, and then delete. I think it just has some console logs. Hmm, maybe not. Mm, console.log. This is mesh service, st mesh service. This, and this is the function delete mesh. And the value is st mesh ID. And let's just make sure that's even getting called at all. Because, I was kind of assuming it was called, but now I'm starting to think that it wasn't. Delete. Okay, so we do get here for delete mesh. Okay, so that's good. All right, so now do we get here? Let's find out. The easiest way possible is to click this, add this, delete this, and yes, we do get in here. I don't know what does in there though. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to step into that. So this is the debugger. The live code is paused in the debugger so we can see what the current stuff is. If you don't use the debugger, man, you aren't living. Is the debugger. Okay, so all this does is return true right now. And that's because right now, okay, so we need to delete it. We just haven't fleshed it out yet. All right. So, and it's kind of funny because I thought that's all we were going to need to do. Like call it and do that, but no, it's been a lot more work. But before we go there, so we have two paths in front of us, right? One path is go finish up the deleting and get rid of it and be done. Mission accomplished. The problem is the other path is do I want to wait until unit tests to break this down into individual things? And I don't think I want to. So now, um, so this is delete animation for mesh ID. That's what it's called over here. I guess I should just call it delete animation. Delete animation. And this is the tricky one, right? This is very tricky. I've always struggled with this. I think it doesn't, I like it to return something just because it doesn't have to return anything. I could have made it a void, but it does make unit tests read a little bit better when you write a unit test for a function and it returns something. It's just a little easier, like to read the unit tests and then have something to test. You can just test the result. even if you know what the result's going to be, especially if you know what the result's going to be actually. All right, so now we have our delete animation. We know that it's going to accept. The very first thing it's going to accept is the mesh ID. And I don't really, this is very mysterious to me, like why this works. But, and then the second thing it's going to send accept is the ST animation ID. Now, it also accepts two other things, right? And one of them is the index, and that is a number. So that is the index that of this for. And then the last thing is the entire list of animations, ST. Oh, that's ID. ST animation. And when all this first started, like like that. And when all this first started, that's a lot of people did it this way. Like there was a huge sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, some sort of internal battle in in web JavaScript development, where some people just thought you should always turn in, you should always include these these parameters, arguments that it's accepting, even though like you aren't necessarily using them. Normally, you just quite often you only use the animation ID. But console.log, and I'm just going to do this st. And see, this is like literally taking me 100 times longer, I think, because I'm kind of going through this stuff just to kind of prove things, right? All right, so now here we give this the name of the function that we want to run, but this gets very, very weird because like you could say, I mean, if we didn't need access to anything that was outside the of this function, then we wouldn't have to do these three things. We wouldn't have to bind it or anything like that. But we are since we are doing this, we have to bind it. So can't remember. I think it's this, and then the name of the function, delete animation, and then it's bind, and then it's st mesh ID. Oh, did it? Maybe is it bind? I always struggle with this. I thought I had it down pat. Yeah, see, bind isn't. Maybe it's not. No, it has to be. Okay, yes. This dot delete animation. And then you say bind. Oh, that's right. I'm doing something wrong. Okay, the very first thing that you send it is the new context, the new this when you do that. So, and then the next thing is the variable that we want to send. One day, I think I'll be like able to. Yeah, there we go. So this right here is the local the this on that. So we could you will 9 times out of 10 probably see it like that. So what this would then give access to is this up here. I like literally purposely don't give access to that so that we can do that. So what we could do, yeah, let's do this. This comma, since we're just trying to learn stuff right now. And then I'm going to give this a function, an attribute of hello, and then world. All right, so this is the context. So what I think is going to happen is that we'll get hello world first, then next we'll get the mesh ID, which I don't know, I think it's like 4 or something. And then we'll get the animation ID, which I believe is like 7 or something. Then we'll get the index, which is 0. And then we'll get the whole array of animations, which is just the one array. There's only one item in there. So let's let's check it out. Oops. Add, and let's go look at our here, and let's look at our console. Let's clear this out, and then delete. Now, the debugger kind of ruined our show for us a little bit. Boom. Let's look at our console. So as you see, we have hello world, because that's our new context, 470, and then the whole array. And that's how that works. And so now we can call our function that we're calling, which was in, oh Lord. Okay, that's actually quite hilarious if you think about it, because I need actual access to the animation ID. I mean, I need access to the animation service in this closed out thing. So I guess what we need to do. So that's kind of a bummer because I was kind of hoping to make this a completely pure function, but it doesn't look like I can. Now, oh, I wonder actually what I can do. And I don't know why I didn't think of this, but I can actually, I think, I'm just going to comment this out so we don't lose it. But I believe I can say this dot. It's so fun when you figure something out. This dot, and this is st animation service dot delete animation for mesh ID. Let's put this on its own line so it'll be easier to see. And then we're going to bind hello. And I believe we send the animation. Oh, and it's going to send the animation ID in the second thing. Oh, no, we need this. Now, I need to go look at that real quick. Delete animation. So it takes an animation ID as the first thing and the mesh ID as the second thing. I actually think I have to swap that, which kind of is a bummer because I think I've settled in to a scheme. Oof. Okay, so I think the first one has to be the mesh ID because that the way that bind works. So I think this one has to be mesh ID. And I really do need to put a comment there because, and it's like an important comment too. So maybe an important icon might be useful. So important. How about danger? Yeah. Bomb. High voltage. So we'll put that there for danger. So mesh ID must be first. And this happens all the time. So I'll probably actually switch out. Well, it just depends on where it's getting called from. And that is kind of a bummer because just that nature of that call forces us to set up our arguments a certain way, which is kind of a bummer. Mesh ID must come first. First, due to binding in the mesh service, st mesh service. All right, so because of that, we have to delete that. So console.log, and then I'm going to put the word delete. Now we can't delete yet because there's like another thing to worry about, st mesh ID. And the thing that we have to worry about is that the thing we have to worry about is that when we delete things for the mesh ID, oh, so when we'll have to be able to check other places. There's no place to check yet, but we need to check with like everything that could use multiple meshes for. So this, oh, okay, and we have this function that says get st animations for our mesh ID. So we don't want that actually. We actually want to have a function that asks like any service that could have a duplicate animation, like could be using the animation, like are you using this animation? What's the count? And see, the reason we have to send it in animation delete animation, it's not animations, it's animation, right? Like that. So that's going to break things, but there's never going to be an easier time to fix this. So let's fix it right now. Animation. So here is that, and then boom. So we don't actually need to even, yeah, we can just call directly. Now, if we need to do something else in the future, we're going to have to create a function that does this. But for now, we do that. And the reason and the reason I chose to go this way is because I don't want to pass the animation service in or anything like that. I don't want to have to deal with how this function is going to get access to the animation service. All right. So that is all working now. So let's just double check that we get our expected delete 4.7, right? So that makes sense, right? Because 4 was the mesh, right? Oh, the only thing that's left, right? I see how it's showing all of those, but the only thing left is the animation. So animation is second, which is what we were expecting. All right, so I think a comment is good enough. There's no reason at this point to create something like this. So animation. I mean, there's no reason. Okay, so I think we can just put a comment here and say, and I think we want to put the eyeballs. And because I think, oh, time. I think we put a time. So we're kind of double dutying time now that I think about it, because is there a to do? Later, future. Actually, I think that is actually a really good icon for future. It's like a little crystal ball. So in the future, to check that this is not being used by another mesh. And actually, we do need what we need to do is create another function called delete mesh. I mean, so delete animation. So for delete animation, okay, so the hard part, the thing I'm really struggling with right now is, yeah, so delete animation will only delete. Um, I'm gonna have to. I clearly have not figured something out. And it's starting to become clear to me what I've not figured out. And the thing is, and I guess that's what I meant, but I've clearly figured out something. I have got to delete is going to be weird, right? Because when I delete a mesh, the idea is that that mesh that I'm deleting will still exist before I mean, if I delete an animation for a mesh, that mesh will still exist. So it's okay if that mesh still exists, but I don't want any other meshes to not exist. Well, the problem is we want to um, we want to delete, but in all other cases, we only want to delete if there's nothing using it. So for scenes and for everything else, we only want to delete it if nothing else is using it. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that at this point. I can't figure that out. Boolean st animation ID. So I think that I've settled in the idea that if you call this one probably should be a private, but we can't. I don't know how to freaking unit test. See, this should be a private, right? Like if unit tests weren't like didn't make it very difficult to and unsupported um, to to unit test private things, then I would make that, but I would make it private. But since it's kind of a pain, I just will leave it this way. But you really probably shouldn't call this um, outside of this function, which we can actually. Um, well, I don't even know. Actually, okay, yeah. So this is dangerous, and it's dangerous because okay, this deletes without checking, um, without making sure that the animation is not being used anywhere. So this is a very dangerous one to call because like it's just going to delete it. It's not going to do any checking. But we are going to have to figure out some way in the future. We're going to have to figure out some way to make sure that things aren't being used when they're not supposed to be used. I probably should make this call when I make the call to the parent saying, "Hey, give me all the IDs that you use." I probably should call it with the ID with an optional ID that will be ignored, or that will be removed when you come back. That's probably actually the best way to do it. But you know what? I'm going to let myself come up with. I think that's the best solution, but I think I'll come up with a better. Either that, re-come up with that solution, or come up with a better solution in the future because I'll have more information in the future. But so what we want to do is we want to go like this. There's two things we want to do. We want to delete our this dot st animation dictionary, and let's just go double check that that is strongly typed. Yep. And for this ID, so that removes it from the memory on the ST side. There's nothing on, I don't think there's an animations dictionary on the 3 side. There may be, I don't remember. I should look real quick. It doesn't matter though, because that is something. Okay, so we do have a animation on the 3 side. It is just a class though, so I don't know if it has a dictionary. I suspect it doesn't have a dictionary of any type. And that makes sense that it wouldn't have a dictionary. It doesn't. It makes sense that it wouldn't have a dictionary because it is just a class. So um, there's no shared thing. There's no it's not a singleton. It doesn't share memory. Angular's not trying to manage that memory right now. So trying to get it's like so easy like to kind of come up with like a shorthand way of of describing things, and then if you do a shorthand way of describing things, then you get to other human beings can't understand your shorthand that you came up with. So it's important to kind of stop yourself and make sure that whatever you're saying would be intelligible to another human being. For some reason, my cat. I think like we're at the sort of at the beginning of spring, and these cats, while they are fixed, they so they can't reproduce, but they get they're outside with the feral cats and they can reproduce. So I think the chemicals, the pheromones, sort of get into them, and then they start like they become very very affectionate when they normally aren't. And this cat is just absolutely trying to. But I know that like here in the United States, we generally most native born Americans we are taught from a very young age to just absolutely love like all animals. Like I don't think there's anything we actually dislike. Maybe alligators. Some people like alligators, but I know that that's not. I guess that is a culturally sensitive thing. I did not realize that. So, but I do. I have a black cat. She's beautiful. She's wonderful. I have a bird. They are coexisting together. We have dogs. We have brown dogs. They lick me. They get saliva on me. It's just that's just how we live here, and if that bothers somebody, I'm sorry, but I don't know what to tell you. That's just the way things are. It's good if you know now, because if you didn't realize like that people really really like dogs and you don't like dogs, you have some sort of problem with dogs, you're probably not going to be happy in the U.S. At least not in a typical American um, lifestyle. At least typical American lifestyles that I've ever been around. Anyway, so now we need to go to the recycling system. So this recyclable sequence service dot, and then we have recycle ID, and we pass it our ST animation ID. And again, it's very important to keep in mind we aren't checking nothing. This is just a pure, hey, delete, and that's not going to work. Like it would be a bad idea to call this one directly from over there, because at least in the future we're going to be checking. So what it should be done? We should be at mission accomplished at this point. Let's see, viz, and I would say I have a 93.6% chance that this is going to work. So what we're hoping for is that animations is gone. Oh, did they not? Oh, I never called it. Okay, so let's try it again. This dot delete animations st animation ID. I can just return that. It wouldn't surprise me at some point if like I check for something and whatever, but we know that it's just going to delete it though. All right, add over here, delete, delete, delete. It's not a function. Did I lose? I'm guessing we lost this. Is that what happened? Did we lose this? Interesting. So we get here, but this is not. That is fascinating to me because we called it, and when we called it, we lost our context. So I'm curious. I don't know what to do at this point, but I think something tells me that I could do this. But the problem is I'll still have a problem. I'll still have a problem in the because I'll need the recyclable sequence too. So how do I do that? I'm very curious. So delete animation function doesn't exist, right? So what I can do is because I'm calling it from outside, I can do this. I think I could say const. Uh, I don't know if I can do this. I'm gonna try it. I'm trying it. I'm trying it. Const um, context equals. No, that's not. Well, this. I'm curious. I don't even know. Context and text. Let's see what happens. Very curious. Add and delete. Oh, and because this didn't exist, because this got created. So, but I think I could say dictionary. No, because this still doesn't exist. All right, so let's figure this out. And it's kind of wild. Okay, so I am actually very confused. Very, 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 very. So let's see. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious if when I do my three, I'm going to close everything else. And then I'm going to look for my delete animation mesh ID call. And then I'm going to go over here. Let's go over here. And then in our animations, in our mesh service, this animation, let's try that. I'm very curious about that because I don't know do they actually have the same this? I think they do, which is weird. It's like weird on my brain to try to think of that, but no. Now I'm very curious. Now, what did we get here? Okay, so I wonder what this is. Delete. So this is everything that was in the mesh. So this is our mesh service, but we actually want this to be our animation service. So I guess I could pass that whole animation service in, right? As the context. Let's try that. Which I don't even know. Like I'm wondering how that will stick in my brain. I'm wondering if that will be. So we are going to tell it that it's this dot st animation service. They're the same object, right? Yeah, I think that totally makes sense to me. So I'm telling it that its context is sets the context to the animation service. This animation. That is so fascinating. All right, so yeah, I'm setting the animation service instead of sending in an empty. array or the mesh service in as its, I don't know. Woo, 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 woo. And it's all gone. So mission is in fact accomplished. Gosh, that was crazy. So now everything is gone. So that means that when I create a new one, that everybody gets it. Now there's going to be some weirdness because I think like mesh and I think there are that I still have dictionaries that are populated on the three side that I might want to consider. I probably do need to consider like when I delete the renderer and I've decided I'm deleting it completely, I should also delete the ThreeJS version. And that side, there's no protections. Like there shouldn't be any protections because I don't think I'll actually use the same ThreeJS object, reuse the same actual ThreeJS object. So that dictionary should probably be just easily deleted. And I don't know. I kind of want to build a whole UI out so that like tables out so that I can, lock that in with end-to-end tests, but you know what? I'm just going to try to not do that way. But let's go take just a quick look before we sort of deep before, because at the next step um, is going to be unit tests, and we'll be all deep into that, and then end-to-end tests, and we'll be all deep in that. But see how camera service has an array of three dictionaries. And these three dictionaries, I believe, is let's go look at that, go to definition. It's a perspective camera, right? So it's a ID and a perspective camera. At some point, it'll be an ID and an orthographic camera, or perspective or orthographic, and stuff like that. But for now, it's a um, ID and a camera. So, but see where we set it, we create it, but we never delete. Oh wait, multiple cameras for the same ST camera ID. I don't think that is actually. Okay, so we actually do have a delete camera by STID. So that's good. I'm assuming if we have it, we're probably using it. Guess I should go look to see how, since we're deep into this kind of stuff right now. So in the camera service, we do in fact, the ST camera, we do in fact call that one delete the 3GS camera. Oh, so we are doing that exactly right. All right. So that's for the camera. Do we have the same thing for the renderer? Man, that's a relief though. And it looks like it's super simple, so there's no real reason. Yep, we got delete renderer by ID. We have camera. I'm assuming we have scene. Okay, we do not have a delete scene by ID. So we should to do. Let's just do this. To do delete scene by ID. And then what else do we have? We have mesh. Do we have a 3 mesh? Do we delete meshes by? Because I probably don't want to finish this now. Now that I see how simple it is, we should definitely do it now. If see here, we actually delete them and we dispose them. We do a dispose. Doesn't look like we actually do a delete though. That is wild. "14 months ago, I created this." Oh, and okay, so we don't have a delete. We do dispose the materials when we update it. So if we change the material, it's kind of bizarre though. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So anyways, we need to delete mesh by ID. To do D. And then, like I said, these I think are literally just going to be. Now this one, it looks like when I do a delete, I also do need to do a dispose. Um, I have to go over all the materials and dispose them. Although I don't even know if you need to do that. If you're deleting the mesh, you may not need to dispose the materials, but probably a good idea. See, array is bizarre. Oh, that's right. This was probably forced by TypeScript because this can be an array or just an individual material. Because like when you look at these here and there's like 6 sides, each one of these sides can have its own material if I remember correctly. So mesh. So do I have a delete material? Nope. To do delete material by ID. And then geometries. Let's go back. Let's make sure we're not forgetting anything. We got animation, we got scene, we got camera. Yeah, geometry is all that's left. And we don't have a delete here either. All right. To do. Geometry. Geometry by ID. All right, so now let's just do kind of a quick. I kind of just wanted to do just a quick ST geometry. It was the mesh service that we did most of our work in. For some reason, it's showing that I have something to save in there. All right. So just to kind of recap, probably the most important thing is that when we did this bind for this animation, we had access to the animation service. So like you can't access the animation service unless you have access to it. Makes sense, right? Well, the context when we get to the animation service is in fact the animation service. If we did call it directly, it would, when we went to that function, I guess it would determine its own this, which this is the animation service over there. But I tried setting the this to this instead of to animation service, and it got very confused because ST mesh service didn't have that function, which is very, very lucky. And I've worked in many places where they have like very, very abstract names that are very, very generic. And then if you, like, let's say we have it called delete animation or delete animation for mesh ID. What if everybody named their function delete item? If that was just the name delete item, right? Very generic name. And every one of these functions had their own delete item, or they were, God forbid, like extensions of it. Like you had one base class and you're just extending them. And so they all have the same names. Trying to freaking figure this whole context thing out would have been very, very difficult. So anyways, so tomorrow I'm going to clean the code up, do a code commit, and then start unit testing. And then right after that, and once the unit testing is done, we're going to set up E2E testing to lock down all these. So you won't be able to delete stuff without them getting deleted because the end-to-end test will fail. And then after that, we'll circle back around and do those final to-dos, which again, that should be dirt simple because I don't think that there's ever going to be the concept of two ThreeJS cameras having the same STID. Actually, that's not true. Actually, that's absolutely not true. There will definitely be two 3JS cameras for the same STID. That is actually going to happen. Oh, but it's not going to be the same object. There'll be two 3JS cameras, but they will be two distinct cameras. So no. We will have like two renderers that have the same ST camera ID. But those two ST camera IDs in the two different renderers. Oh my God, yeah. So that really complexifies things because yes, so I'll have two cameras and they'll have camera. They like two renderers can have, let's say, 10 camera, the one camera. They all have the same camera. They're all looking at the same thing. It's the same camera, a different thing, but it's the same camera, right? Well, they're not on the three side. They're 10 different cameras. If I delete one of them, I have to delete the correct camera, the camera that was the correct SD camera, the can the three that was for the renderer that I had. Oh my God. Yeah, that's going to be complicated. It's definitely not. It's going to be way more complex than what we have now. My goodness, that delete's going to be a pain in the butt. Right? Once we start sharing things, we're going to have a whole nother round of this. It's probably going to take freaking 6 months to figure that all out. But just one more run at this thing, trying to some. So I have a renderer, right? Let's say I have three renderers. They're all looking at like one's looking at a cube, one's looking at a sphere, one's looking at a plane, right? They're all sitting in it's the same camera though, being reused. When I go to delete one of those visualizations for that ST camera, for that visualization, I need to delete the camera, the three camera for it. I'm going to have to keep track of the correct three camera. I always thought that there was like a one-to-one relationship between cameras and three items, but no, that's not true. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yes, because yeah, that is I can't even hardly picture it. I'm gonna have to build out some other yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be complicated. I'm gonna have to probably build out something like this for the actual and like the actual 3JS versions too, so that I can make sense of it. Because I can't even because I have to completely visualize it right now, right? But so I can't make sense of it. But I would rather build that out, I think, once the actual structure is starting to form. The way once we start to make that architecture concrete, that's probably when I want to actually build out whatever visualization because the visualization needs to bend to whatever I need that structure to work like, not vice versa. I don't want to build the visualization and then be trying to force the 3JS structures to live within that visualization. My goodness. See, and actually that you know what that might actually be a better thing for inside of here is like a different like all the 3JS stuff or something. You know what? I think that's actually what I need to do. Is this renderer needs to have all the 3JS objects that are tied to it, which I think there's just a one-to-one relationship. I don't think we'll ever have two, well, yeah, I don't think we'll ever have two visualizations that have the identical oh, you know what? We probably will actually, because ST visualization's the top. So like I could very well Yeah, I could very well want two visualizations that are actually exactly identical but placed in different spots. See, this is what determines the width and the height of the object, of the actual visualization, and the position. So I could have two visualizations. So the visualization's the top. I keep thinking that render is the top, but the visualization is the top. Yeah, because the visualization has a renderer in it. So I could have two visualizations that both have renderer one. And if that is the case, then, but one of them could be like at the upper left and the other one could be on the bottom right or something, like that's very reasonable. So, anyways, it is time to clean the code up, do a code commit, then work on unit tests, and then work on end-to-end tests. Do a commit on both of those, and then circle back around, build out the deletes in the to-do deletes. That should be very quick, I hope. I don't think I can write any end-to-end tests to support that, though, and the unit test should be absolutely trivial. Um, and so then we'll be done with this animations. Delete any animation associated with a deleted visualization, but not used by others. Yeah, then I'll have that done. Um, which was all of them. Like I think I might even have other issues for deleting cameras and meshes and all that. All of those will be done because I had to because they were at the bottom of the hierarchy. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.